Hey folks, today I made a map of what America would look like if state borders were based on where is the nearest Mexican consulate. I got a few requests from people asking me how I did it. So in this video, I want to show you how to create this kind of map that shows the nearest counties to a bunch of points. Once again, step 0 before you do anything is to download QGIS and also to download any kind of shapefile that has the United States counties. So before we get into our analysis, this particular file that I found on the internet has some errors in it. Click on the toolbox, go to the Fix Geometries tool, run that. It fixes our geometries for us so that we don't have any issues in the future. So with this file, make sure you fix the geometries and then you're ready for step 1. So in this example, we'll be using the consulates of El Salvador in the United States. So in step 1, we're going to create the layer that contains the location of every single consulate of El Salvador in the US. Now, there are several ways to do this. The first way is to create a CSV or text file, and you can do this just by opening Google Sheets and pasting in your information and then manually looking up the latitude and longitude of each place. In this case, it's only about 20 cities, so it doesn't take that long. And there are many free services that allow you to look up the latitude and longitude of a city, so that's one way to do it. Once you've created your spreadsheet, you just click and download it as a CSV, which can then be read into QGIS. Another way to get the points layer is to create a temporary scratch layer directly in QGIS. So to do that, you click on the scratch layer icon, you give the layer a name, and make sure you select point as the type of geometry. You click OK, and that creates the layer. And this is especially useful if you know how to set up a base map. So you can pull up your base map and then use the editing tools to click and to place your points directly onto the map. And once you've placed your points, you simply click on that pencil icon again, click Save, and you have your points layer. In addition to those two methods, you could also just load in a shapefile that contains your points. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to load in that CSV that I made earlier, and you do that by adding a new layer, clicking delimited text, navigating to where your CSV is located. And once you open that, everything should be all set. Make sure that you have point coordinates, X is longitude, Y is latitude, and click Add, and it should add it for you. What we have to do now is we have to export these points, and we have to export them using a different projection. So since we're working with the lower 48 states here, I'm going to use the North America Lambert conformal conic projection, which is slightly better at representing the true shape of the lower 48 states. So once you export that in your Lambert conformal conic projection, or whichever projection is suited to your area, you can load that layer back in, and now that we have our consulates in the correct projection as points, we are ready for the next step. So we have our points layer in the correct projection. We have our counties layer. And now we're ready for step 2, which is creating Voronoi polygons from our points. And you do that simply by looking up the Voronoi polygons tool, making sure you have the correct points layer selected, and just for safety, you can put 100% buffer on those. Click Run, and you've got your Voronoi polygons. We have our Voronoi polygons, but how do we know which county goes inside of which Voronoi polygon? Well, in order to do that, we have to do step 3. In step 3, we're going to create a point on the map for each of our counties. And you do that by going to Point on Surface, making sure the right layer is selected, run that, and that's it. You're done with step 3. You have one point for each county. So we now have a layer that contains 1 point for each county in the United States. Now it's time to join those points onto our Voronoi polygons. So we look up the Join Attributes by Location tool and click on that and make sure that our input layer is the county points, that's the input, and the join layer is our Voronoi polygons. The other settings are all fine. You might want to do 1-to-1 just to be safe. And click Run, it should be pretty fast. And now there's a new joined layer. It contains information on which Voronoi polygon intersects with each county. And we can double check this by opening up the symbology, clicking on Categorized, selecting our name column, which usually is going to be somewhere at the bottom. And once we apply that, we can see that each dot actually is colored by which Voronoi polygon it intersects, which looks pretty cool already. Now we're done with step 4, where we've joined our county points onto the Voronoi polygons. What we're going to do in step 5 is we're going to join these newly joined points back onto our county polygons. So we just go back to our old Join Attributes by Location tool, but this time the input layer is going to be our counties layer, and the join layer is going to be those county dots that we joined earlier with the Voronoi information. Click Run, and now we have a bunch of counties. And just like last time, we can verify that we joined everything correctly by going into the symbology, Categorized, scroll down to the name column, which should be there at the bottom, and click Classify. And once you apply that style, you should see that now your counties are colored according to which consulate they are actually closest to, at least approximately. So there we go, that's step 5. At this point, you could export as a PDF. You can start doing stuff in Adobe Illustrator, or one last step you could do is dissolving by the name column, and it would look a little something like this, which is pretty close to the final map that I made. Obviously the rest is just labeling, coloring, maybe getting rid of some of the weird geometric artifacts. You're basically done. Let me know if you have any more questions. I'll be happy to answer them, but yeah, this is how you make this kind of map.